Hey everybody, Ian here. So first of all, happy September. Sorry I haven't uploaded a video in like 7 months. I've just been busy doing some other stuff. I was putting my apartment together and stuff. I wish I had a better explanation than that, but I don't. It's kind of like having a resume gap. They'll be like, oh, like, why haven't you had a job in a while? And it's like, well, because I haven't had a job in a while. That's why. But anyway, I'm here today to talk to you about one of my favorite shows, Community. But I'm going to talk about one of the worst episodes. But I'm going to talk about why I would still recommend that specific episode. Like I said, Community is one of my favorite shows. It's really creative. It's very sharp. It's very funny. That's what I care most about, is just that it's very funny when I watch it. But it was created by a guy named Dan Harmon, who I think more people might know him more broadly as the creator of Rick and Morty. I think more people watch Rick and Morty than watched Community when it was on. But I know him as the creator of Community. And it ran for 6 seasons and hopefully a movie. And it's just very funny. It's very unique. It's quick. It's self-aware, but not in like an annoying way. It's just very good. It's a very good show. But in season 4, the creator, Dan Harmon, was fired for reasons that I find uninteresting, so I'm not going to go into them. But his voice was missing during season 4. And season 4 ended up being the weakest of the whole show, of the 6 seasons. The one where the creator was gone was just... and a specific episode of it, it's a puppet episode, it's called Intro to Felt Surrogacy, is like the weakest of the weak, for reasons I'm going to explain. But honestly, I would still put this episode in a list of, episodes for a newbie to watch, even though it's among the weakest of the season, for reasons I'll also explain. But I'm going to do all this by comparing it to a season 2 episode, a claymation episode that works way, way better, even though it's similar in concept, claymation, puppets. It's one of the things about this show. They just do like everything, including puppets at one point, including Christmas claymation at one point. But so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to start this off by spoiling both episodes. I'm going to explain the plot of both of them and then talk about why they did and did not work. The Christmas claymation episode is called Abed's Uncontrollable Christmas. And the episode starts out in this claymation format, but we realize that the character Abed is the only one who sees it. He says a couple things about, like our hands, the cookies, whatever, look weird, and all the rest of the group who are in claymation look concerned among themselves. And so it's understood that and then explained explicitly that Abed is the only one seeing it like this. And so the rest of the group, the rest of the 6 of them, try to figure out why this is. And in the process of doing so, they find out that he is also separately on academic probation, and if he's going to get kicked out of school if he flunks this semester. And so they need to get him back to normal in his brain so that he can get back to his schoolwork and not get kicked out. But so they lead this, they go to this group therapy session in their study room where they all go into this pretend Christmas land in Abed's mind. And they just kind of weave their way through. It's kind of like Candyland, but Christmas. And it's very creative. It's a funny episode. It's one of the best episodes of the show, actually. And as they weave their way through this Christmas land, sorry, there's like noise outside. Also, I have a fan on me. If you hear like a whirring noise, it's because there's a fan. I have the little windscreen of my mic pointed at the fan, so I'm hoping it blocks that. But I would rather have you guys hear feedback than me be slightly uncomfortable. Yeah, just understand where my priorities lie, please. Please. But anyway, as the characters, they weave through this Christmas land in Abed's mind, various characters get dropped out, and so it's kind of narrowing down to this group of 4 and then 3 and then 2 as Abed is getting closer and closer to figuring out why everything's claymation. And they find out that it's because Abed, who his parents divorced when he was a small kid, Abed's mom has gotten remarried and has a new family, and she's not going to be able to visit him for Christmas this year. And so that's why Abed started seeing the world like this. And right as we figure this out, that like it's because of this, this card that says, hey, I know I come every December 9th, but I can't come December 9th this year. And today's December 9th. As we, the audience, figure all that out separately, the bad guy of the episode, who was the, not in the group, and he was just a counselor at the school who was leading the therapy session, he only wanted a publishing deal. And so he got kicked out by the rest of the group they just found out that Abed's mom isn't, coming to visit him this year. And so he's sad and actually freezes up. And so they like thaw Abed by kicking out this really, dick of a professor. And that's just how it ends, is that they thaw Abed's, frozen spirit by saving him from the bad guy. But so, before I go into just deconstructing it at all, I'm just going to move on to the puppet episode. I'll just explain the plot, hopefully quickly. The episode is called... I was putting my water bottle down. The episode is called Intro to Felt Surrogacy. And it starts with the group members in real life just sitting around their study room table uncomfortably. And the dean comes in, like the dean of the entire school, who's actually one of my favorite like TV characters ever, like up there with like Lionel Hutz / Troy McClure from The Simpsons, and like Phoebe Buffay. Like Dean Pelton is one of my favorite characters ever. I love the dean. But he comes in and he says, like, guys, this uncomfortable silence has been going on too long. And so he passes out puppets that he has made in all of their likeness, as a method for them to communicate, therapy through puppets. And being fans of the medium, they're all like, sure, we can do this. After a little, nudging, they get into it. And they reveal, this is when it switches into puppets. It's a flashback, and all the flashbacks are them in puppet form. And so they flash back to, a week or two ago, where they all decided to go on a balloon ride. Oh, yeah, you can see how red the top of my head is. My poor head. Anyway, I don't know what that was. Anyway, they all went out for a balloon ride, but they got caught in the breeze, and they like blew away without the instructor, who is Sarah Bareilles for some reason. Actually, they'd had a song of hers in another really funny episode, and so I wonder if that's just a reference to that. But anyway, they blow away without the instructor, and they just crash land somewhere in the forest, where they meet Jason Alexander in a wig, who is nice to them and, gives them like food and some help and stuff, except it turns out he's giving them like drug berries. And so they all get like high. And then he just like leaves. He just like gets them high on psychedelic berries and then dips. But it was what happens is that the reason they're all uncomfortable is that those drug berries made them all confess their deepest secret, their darkest secrets. But the thing is, they find this out because Shirley, she's just the one who was talking first, says, oh, the reason I'm uncomfortable is this horrible secret of mine that I told you back in the woods. And they're all the rest of them, this is when they're in real life, saying like, oh, I don't remember you saying that. I remember my bad secret. Everyone is uncomfortable because they remember their own bad secret. But they're worried that everyone else is remembering their bad secret, but actually everyone else is just remembering their own. But so Shirley has already confessed this horrible thing she did, and so the rest of them all, it jumps back to the puppets. The puppets all, say their confession, and so we, the audience, get to learn everything. and they all confess their secrets to make Shirley better, and they leave happily. And oh my gosh, okay. I'm going to get into like just the analysis of it, why the claymation episode worked, why the puppet episode didn't work. I didn't write the full word analysis. I wrote Christmas anal, why it worked, and then puppet anal, why it didn't work. But anyway, the thing about the Christmas episode, the Christmas anal, the reason it worked is that there was like a reason for the format. Abed was confronted with this loss of his childhood and then shut down. And like I said, it was understood that everything claymation is only existing in Abed's mind. Everyone else sees the world differently, even though we, the audience, watch the entire episode start to finish in claymation. And separately, there are stakes involved in this. Abed is the only person seeing the world like this. And we don't know why. We, the audience, and they, the other characters, don't know why. And also, separately, if Abed doesn't get it together academically, he's going to get kicked out. And so they have to help him get it together mentally so that he can get it together academically and not get kicked out. And it's just, there's a reason for the format, and there are stakes. And I know that just the casual audience is not thinking about stakes per se, but they're thinking about, like, why does this matter? And the thing about the puppet episode, the reason why it doesn't work is partly the reason for the format is weak and the stakes are not there. The reason for the format is that the dean of the entire school, who actually loves them, but the dean of the entire school thinks that their uncomfortable silence is going on too long. In the season 2 claymation episode, the dean of the entire school was ready to kick Abed out, even though he was going through a mental breakdown because he was flunking his classes. And in the season 4 episode, the dean of the entire school doesn't like that the group's not talking. And the therapy, I think, is actually not a bad idea for the medium. I think that's a perfectly valid way to get in there. But it's not so much as a reason as a thing that leads into puppets. The way that Abed, the stuff you find out at the very end, is why Abed is seeing this in claymation. Because his mom is finding a new family. And there's no like reason for the puppets. It's just therapy. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. But I think it just leads to kind of a disconnect. And then separately, like I said, the stakes aren't there. Abed is going crazy and separately is about to get kicked out of school. Those are stakes. And in this one, they're just kind of uncomfortable. They're just sitting around awkwardly. And so it when you ask the question, why does this matter? It's hard to answer because it doesn't. But the thing is, I find the puppet episode, it's very representative of season 4 overall. Like I said, that's the season where the show creator, Dan Harmon, is not present. And it really feels like they got the gist of the show, but like they didn't get the heart of the show. They know that they do a crazy, totally new format every week. Law and Order, Christmas claymation, 80s cartoons, etc., puppets. So they do puppets, but they're not getting the heart of it. And there's actually, I could compare this and will compare this to a different episode in season 4. There's a different episode than the puppet episode, but still in the season where the creator's not there. There's a point where the character Jeff, who always saves the day with like a big speech at the end, and he'll like rally the troops and save the day with a big speech. But the thing is, he's very emotionally closed off. It's these things about him. He always saves the day, but he's emotionally closed off because his dad abandoned him when he was a child. And there's an episode in season 4 where Jeff goes into one of his speeches and he says, "Oh, well, my dad left me when I was a kid, and I think of you guys as my family now." and I don't want to let this bad thing that's happening happen to my family, and so we need to go stop those bad guys. And that's the thing. They get the gist of it. Jeff's dad left him, and that's why he's saying, my dad left me. They get that he's the guy who saves the day with the speech. They have him save the day with the speech. But they don't get the heart of Jeff, which is that he's completely emotionally closed off, to the point of being very annoying to me. I find Jeff completely annoying. I don't like that. I find that kind of leading man, the emotionally closed off leading man, just stupid and annoying. But Jeff is the type of person who would never, ever, ever, ever in 100 million years just volunteer the information that, oh, I care so much about you guys because of how sad I was as a kid. He saves the day, and his dad was a jerk, but he's emotionally closed off. And they get the gist of the show without getting the heart of it. And I feel like the puppet episode is just it. They got the gist of it, but not the heart. And I actually thought about what I would, when I was watching it just the other day, I was thinking about what I would change about the puppet episode. And I had a thought that what if there's a character named Chang. He's played by Ken Jeong. He's actually one of my favorite characters. As I rewatched the show more and more and more, he became one of the ones that just made me laugh the hardest. He's crazy and just shows up at random times. But I had an idea, just a couple minutes into watching the episode this last time, what if Chang had led the therapy session? Not the dean, Chang. And my thought is that he could have come in with the condition that if he heals their problem, he gets into the group. Which the reason he's not in the group is that they spent the whole first 4 seasons not wanting him in the group. And so if that was the case, him saying, I'll solve it if you let me in, there are automatic stakes right there. Either Chang joins the group, or the group is uncomfortable forever. Stakes. It matters all of a sudden why this is happening. And I think I was thinking about is a couple things I was thinking, that the dean, he really cares about them. It's not that outside the realm of believability that Dean Craig Pelton would care this much about the group. It's just outside of the room of the realm of believability, not possibility, believability. Because this show is always crazy all the time. But my thought is that there were actually a number of really funny lines that the dean had during his session with the group, including one point another student who's not in the group comes in his name's Garrett. I love Garrett. He comes in the room and says Dean, there's a fire in the cafeteria, and the dean is not now, get out. And I think that's funny, and I don't want to lose that. I love the dean, and my thought was, what if we just had him pop in and get really invested in the therapy session and start eating some popcorn while he's listening to the group talk. He does this a lot. And that would have still opened up the door for him being able to say no, I don't care about the fire, Garrett, because I'm too invested in this. I feel like just that one simple thing of Chang leading the session could have totally changed it without changing it. The thing is, one of the reasons they couldn't have done that is because of a season 4 subplot called Changnesia, which is I find it very stupid, and it's one of those things where they got the gist of the show but not the heart of it, because Chang is a character who for no real reason, the dean does this too with the word dean, but Chang will just insert the word Chang into he'll from the word change. He asks at one point at some point, I don't really remember in the show, but he's asking oh, is there any room in this group for a little spare Chang? And he just does that all the time. And so when the writers of season 4 gave him Changnesia, which is this crazy thing that replaces part of his, the word with his name, they get the gist of it without getting the heart. Changnesia is not very Dan Harmon. Having only seen Community and Rick and Morty, Changnesia is not Dan Harmon. And I feel like Changnesia is about as far away as you could get from like the gist while still getting the gist of the show. Changnesia was not. It was a swing and a miss. You got to take chances. You got to take risks, and sometimes they don't pay off. And Changnesia did not pay off. And actually, this is a little off topic, but the first episode of season 5, Chang's opening line, the first line that he says is like, "Oh, by the way, I dropped all the Changnesia stuff. I just work here, and I'm a math teacher, whatever it is. I don't remember specifically. But yeah, as soon as Dan Harmon comes back, Changnesia's gone. But so that's a reason why they couldn't have done that, because Chang didn't know he was Chang, and so he didn't know that he'd won it in the group for the last 4 years, and so that's part of her problem. And one thing I was thinking of while I was watching it is that there might not have been time to do that, because they would have to wind it down. It would have to come to a natural close that Chang's not allowed in the group. But they would still have to fix the therapy session, and so there would need to be something that happens that allows Chang to fix them without being allowed in the group. And I was thinking while I was watching it, there might not be time for this, because in a 21-minute episode, there just might not be time. But then the ending scene of the episode while the credits were rolling, that's called a tag. Sometimes they'll just roll credits, but if they ever show the credits over a scene, that scene is called a tag. And the tag of this episode was like 30 or 45 seconds of the puppets just sitting around humming. And I feel like there could have been time if Changnesia had never shown up like 10 episodes before. There could have been time to do this, I think, interesting thing of Chang leading the session. I think it really could have changed things without changing things very much, because the whole rest of the episode would be the same. It would be them going to the, getting lost in the balloon and going to the forest and getting drug berries and, revealing all their secrets, except there would have been stakes. There would have been a reason why this matters, which is that we can't let Chang in the group. But the thing is, I say all this stuff, now it's all winding to the point of why I still recommend this episode. I've been talking a bunch of shit about season 4 and talking a bunch of shit about the puppet episode. Why do I still recommend it? Honestly, all the bells and whistles are there. When I first watched the show, it was in 2015. It was actually when season 6 of the show was streaming on Yahoo Screen. It's a really weirdly specific time that I watched the show. But when I first watched it, I binged through it, as we all do now. And I felt like all the problems with season 4 weren't very evident on the first watch. Especially if this might not be the case now that I've said all this, but if you're not informed of all the, the creator leaving the show and everything, which I was not when I first watched it, they did a claymation episode, now they're doing a puppet episode. And this is definitely it's still a really memorable format. And I feel like it would be effective in like selling the show to a potential new audience, because you don't necessarily have to go into detail about it, but you can say that it's like a different show every episode. They do Western, they do action, they do the Christmas claymation, they do a space launch, they do puppets, they do Law and Order, they do zombies, they did Black Mirror, and a concept that Black Mirror did after Community. Community thought of the idea first. Saturday morning cartoons from like the 80s, they do like everything. And even though I said that the Christmas episode is in that medium for a reason that's central to the plot, and the puppets are just kind of a medium, and I really feel like that disconnect between, there's no reason for the puppets, I feel like it should therefore be bolstered by strong dialogue, which the puppet episode was not. It was just puppets. But honestly, seriously, all the bells and whistles are there. Like, all of them. Every fucking one of them. Look at that bell. Look at that whistle. Look at that bell whistle. Oh, look at that whistle bell. Look at that. What is that? Oh! But yeah, honestly, seriously, all the bells and whistles are there. In the puppet episode and in season 4 overall, all the bells and whistles are there. And so if you're not really caring too much about the heart of the show and only care about the gist of the show, guess fucking what? The gist of the show is there. And I really think that Community has a lot of rewatch value, and it's one of those things I noticed just as I've seen the whole show like 10 times. And season 4 just gets less and less, like exponentially less entertaining every time. Because there's stuff little things I can find in like the nooks and crannies of like season 3 that I'd never noticed. And season 4 is just very surface level. All that stuff going on with Abed's mom in the claymation episode, that's subtext. And there's not much subtext in season 4. Everything that's happening is just puppets. But all the bells and whistles are there. And it's still written by a group of funny people. I feel like the puppet episode, if it was on a different show, depending on what show, it could have been the strongest episode of a different show. One of the reasons it's one of the weakest in the bottom 5 of Community episodes is that Community itself is such a good show and it's so creative. And so when something falters down to the level of really just kind of meh, it's bad because the good stuff is amazing. But anyway, I recommend it. I was going to say a little more, but no, I just recommend it still. All the bells and whistles are there. But so anyway, thank you all very much for watching. Sorry again that I was gone for not sorry, but I'll try not to be gone for 7 months again. I do want to go back to posting more regularly because this is fun. I miss doing it, and it's a nice little break from my writing routine. I have a list of my notes from watching the puppet episode. I think I'm going to post that just at the end of the video because some of them are just kind of entertaining, and it's really just like a live stream of my thoughts throughout the episode from basically beginning to end. But so anyway, if you watched all of this, I think I wanted this to be 20 minutes. I think it was like 29. But so anyway, thank you very much for watching this. Welcome back to my channel. I will see you disgusting people in 2 weeks. I guess you'll see me in 2 weeks. I don't have to see you. Ugh. Thank God. Oh. Anyway, have a good rest of your day/night. Bye.